I am starting to transition sort of softly into thinking about design for the house because, well, for a start, I have almost got it clear now, although I do need to begin working on the actual wall surfaces to remove a lot of the sprayed plaster and obviously the wallpaper throughout. A lot of the design choices that were made previously on the house, I don't really agree with. So it's like this wallpaper behind me, I think is ghastly. So I want to be able to make some decisions around the design for myself. It's not just about wallpaper, because that obviously I can think about a lot later. What I'm really starting to think about now is things like wall removals. I'm going to be making some layout changes, and I need to think about the house in terms of designing light, because these Victorian houses, while the windows are absolutely enormous, the layout of the rooms does not really cater towards good light management. There's a lot of very small individual rooms, and I don't agree with entirely open plan interior design. I think it's kind of gone out of vogue a little bit here because it's genuinely not very good in terms of like the accommodation for people. So still keeping the units, but making them a little bit larger, a little bit more light centric. So for example, the room that I'm in here, this is the one that I'm sort of thinking about doing first. So this is the hallway, right? So coming just through here. So this is my front door. At some point in the future, there will be a new porch out there that lets through a lot more light. At the moment, it's kind of knackered. It has really cloudy windows. And essentially what I want is, if I repurpose this door or recondition this door, this is the original, although it's been butchered in the 80s. So it needs things like that bottom panel removing. At the moment, it's been boarded over, but it should be a 4-panel door. And as part of that 4-panel door, there should be a central mullion in this window. So I'm going to be removing the glass, building a new central mullion, rejointing it in, reconditioning the door, and also I'll put in stained glass at that point. So then what you'll get is this cascade of coloured light all the way through the hallway on this white wall, and that is going to stay white. I'm not a fan of white in general, but in this case, because I need it as a receiver for colour, that will be staying as white. However, this is just a hallway, right? So there's not going to be a huge amount of people walking through this space all the time. So what I need is to open up this wall a little bit. Not all the way down, because it's helping, it's not supporting, but it does help the house structurally, I suppose. So what I'm going to do is, let's get a bit of distance on this. We've got this door, and I'm going to bring it up to, trying to work out where it is. It's around about double the width of the door. Right, so I'm around about doubling it. And then rather than having this 4-panel door on this section, I'm going to use this somewhere else in the house, because this is still a good quality 4-panel door underneath the panels that they've put on. I'm going to open this up and put in like do you know what crittle is? It's like a steel frame, like a black steel frame with glazing panels in it. So I will open this up with a crittle door. I'll probably have to make it myself, with a window next to it. I might need to make sure that it's fireproof. Got to think about fire. If I'm removing a door, got to think about fire isolation. But the idea is anyway that this will be a really nice bright room with a dining room table, and on that wall you'll have this window light with a cascade of stained glass on the other side of it. And then as well, this wall on this side of the room is going to open up, not entirely, it's just going to be maybe to around about here-ish. That gives me space to have a worktop on the other side in the kitchen running into it and terminating. So there'll just be a nice archway on this wall here. So that's what I'm starting to think about now. Obviously, these are jobs which I can't do myself. I need builders to do it. I need all sorts of things, structural engineers and things like that. So that has all been commissioned. It's in the process and there's people coming. But obviously, a lot of these decisions I'm doing sort of gone on gut instinct rather than I've drawn these designs and this is what I want. So a lot of it is in my head. I do need to spend a bit of time in Blender modeling things up and just making sure that I've made good assumptions, basically. I think I have. I'm pretty excited about it. I have a very clear view of it in my head, but obviously the minutiae of the design need to be pushed out a little bit. So that's it for like the general future things that are currently happening. What I'm doing today is I'm going to be draining the central heating system because I need to remove all of that plumbing for some jobs which are coming down. And also I'm going to be emptying out the privy. So I need to dig all of this out. This is a wash copper, cast iron wash copper, so that's probably going to be quite heavy. This building itself though is not good structurally, so I'm a little bit worried about being in here, but I should just be able to dig it out, put it all into some rubble sacks, sort it a little bit, and get this cleared because this needs to come down. This definitely was the wash copper. It is enormous. Look at this, eh? This must be about 400 mil high, maybe 500 wide, something like that. Like this. This thing is enormous, but gives you a sense of how it actually worked. Basically, it's double shelled. So this original internal shell, and then there was this outer one, which you can see is totally corroded and fallen off on mine. So up in between these two shells, we have this insulative layer of sand, around about an inch thick, all the way across, right? 20 mil thick. And then you can see on the top, you have the inner bowl and the outer bowl and some kind of sealant glue in between them. Now these were called wash coppers because wealthy families, they would have been made of copper. For most people, these were just cast iron, and that's what this is. So unfortunately, I do have a few little holes in here, as you can see. I just need to get these patched up. I do want to get this restored actually, and I think if I put a drainage point in the bottom here, then I do have some downstairs taps in this basement where I could actually use it. So let me actually show you where it originally was, because it gives you a sense of why these things were insulated. This is a chimney breast in the basement. On the floor above us, the chimney breast is this full width section, right? But just down in the basement, we have the chimney breast here. The flue comes up and then it dog legs and then it goes up and joins the ones above. So we can see a quite clear cut section here where this would have all been benched out and it would have supported the wash copper right about here. There would have been a fire built underneath it and that would have basically boiled the water. So you would do all of your washing, wash your clothes and things like that in the wash copper. And you would basically you'd light the fire, heat up all of the water to the temperature you wanted. And then because it was all insulated with that double layer and the sand in between, then you'd keep your water warm while you did all of your washing up. It's pretty fascinating actually. So I'm going to see if I can get it restored, get those holes patched up. Anything else which I need to do, it definitely needs shop blasting and re-enameling. But I have some taps down here, so I could definitely do some kind of sink in here. This is going to be the plant room with the water tank for the heat pump and all of the solar stuff. You can see I'm just draining my heating at the moment. But yeah, so it'd be pretty cool to have a big old sink in here made of the original properties Victorian wash copper. Oh, here we go. Today's the first day I've actually worked without a mask at all. I've been outside. These 12, 13 bags. This is all of the mud that I've been digging. So I got the central heating, that's all drained now. So I'm cleared to start removing pipes, radiators and the boiler, which is great. And I also cleared out the privy. So this in here, this has been a bit of a concern the whole time I've owned the house, just because it's so close to falling down. And now I'm going in it now. I've been in it all day, so I'm fairly confident in it. But this ceiling here is really like blowing in, which is a bit of a concern. All of the lime render behind has just completely blasted off. It's quite interesting though. So this is what the original Victorian water closet would have been. So we've got all of the. This is the soil pipe over here. And then this whole section was mud. I've dug it down a little bit just because of the amount of litter that was in here. Essentially the mice had moved in, mice and spiders. So they dragged in a lot of litter. There we go. So this is now all clear, which is good because not next weekend, but the weekend after I can take down the whole thing. I need to replace that with a bit of fence because that's the neighbour's boundary. And I also need to do something about this stump. But I'm hoping that it'll be easier to remove once I've taken the load off its roots. So I'm going to leave that temporarily. And there we go. What a beautiful day. Something that's really nice about working on a house like this is because you're forced into making these really big changes to it because it's been neglected so drastically. But I think that combined with being genuinely interested in architecture and interior design and sort of maintaining the context and the character of the property, I think it makes for a really exciting project. I definitely couldn't do it if I was having to spend 7 days a week there, and like if I had to work there, if I had to have my computer there in my office, that would be a different story, because there's so many things that I need to do to the house that are extremely messy, that are cutting through walls, sanding floorboards throughout the house in situ. They're really big jobs and they're going to make a huge mess, and doing that kind of thing with a computer while you're trying to have your office, have your life, have your kitchen there, that is going to be very, very challenging. So for me, being able to just spend a few days a week there and then spend my working week at my parents' house, that basically enables me to take the pace that I need to take for it, which is great because it makes it just so much more viable to do this kind of big project. Really excited to see where it's going to end up as well. There's so much flexibility with it, and there's so much to do, like the kind of the culture of the property makes it so interesting, and the location makes it so interesting. Just knowing that I'm going to be able to spend the next 30 years, 40 years maybe, living there, it's certainly big enough for me. It's certainly big enough if I get a family as well, hopefully. And there's just a great place to be, and to know that you made your home, like properly made your bed and sleep in it. I think that's just such a nice thing to do. So I'm really stoked about the project. I think it's going to be great. Super excited to see where the next 12 months takes us.